BPC Candidates Forum.
Hello, I am Brendan King. I'm running to be your next mayor here in Charlotte. As a former Marine and financial advisor, I have a unique skill set for problem solving. I actually ran in the past. I ran for the 2024 U.S. House race in the 14th District. I actually got the Black Political Caucus endorsement at that point in time, but I also got the Charlotte Observer endorsement. And part of their endorsement, they said, McGinnis has I'm going to paraphrase, McGinnis has an acute or an accurate knowledge of voting rights and economics. And that's what the skill set that I bring to the table. This election isn't about experience. If it was, you already have a candidate, right? The knowledge of the office, you already have a candidate. This race is about transparency, trust, and vision. Now, we've had a number of scandals over the last couple of years, whether it's the Bank of America Stadium, the Patrick Baker dismissal, the Jennings settlement, that were caused by a lack of transparency. We've also got some trust issues because there wasn't any public input or very little public input in those things. And finally, it's about vision. Charlotte has lost its vision, particularly for the underserved areas. I view myself as a visionary. That means I see things that other people don't because of the untraditional path that I've gotten to this point in time. Just because I don't fit, please don't dismiss me just because I don't fit the mold that you're used to in terms of this race. My name is Brendan King McGinnis. I'm running to be your next mayor here in Charlotte, and my website is www.mcginnisformayor.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGinnis.
Hello. I'm Vi Lyles. And it's been my pleasure to serve as your mayor for these last 8 years. During my time in office, we've experienced unprecedented growth. We've seen businesses make substantial investments in our community. We've seen substantial business relocations, which has created thousands of jobs, many of which do not require a college degree. But we also know despite the substantial growth, or even because of that substantial growth, we've got some challenges. Most certainly, affordable housing and an inefficient transit system. But working together, we've started to address those issues. We've created the Mayor's Initiative on Equity, which has put together a $250 million fund to address equity issues in our community, with $80 million going to Johnson C. Smith University. We'll have a transportation referendum on the ballot, which hopefully will address some of the transportation problems we currently face. Working together, we can solve these issues. I've got a lot left in my tank. I've got the enthusiasm, I've got the experience, and I want to work for your behalf. So I ask you for 2 more years. That's all I'm asking. 2 more years. Vi Lyles for mayor. Thank you.
Do you mind addressing why she's not here?
Right.
Vi is out of town. She had a family member that got married, and that's why she's not here. She wanted to be here, but she's out of town.
Okay. Next candidate, please. And would you like me to refer to you as Mayor Lyles?
Well, I may switch it up depending on.
I was going to joke and say, I'm Gemini Boyd. And there's some truism in that, even though that's playful, because we definitely share a lot of views. But I am Dr. Tyra Sidney Acute McDaniel, Juris Doctor. And I like to repeat that because I'm a little girl from the hood, a Haitian, Cherokee, black girl from the hood. And my family did such amazing things and wrought such beautiful things in me that I can actually have a doctor in front of my name and a Juris Doctorate at the end. So that's pretty exciting, and I hope that you share in the joy with me, because for some people, that's like nails on a chalkboard when it shouldn't be. You should be celebrating with me. I bring my skill set as gifts that I lay at your feet. And this has actually been a journey, very deliberate. Some of you don't know that I am a strategic planner, have been since the beginning of my career, and I learned that again from my parents. And in so doing, I curated my academia so that I could run for public office in the future, and all of it was not in vain. Go figure. So I am definitely here throwing my hat in the ring again, and I know there's a slow adoption process for candidates like me, especially with my background, both cultural and academic, and with my unique way of looking at things in a sense of conflict resolution that is not very common for the governance here in Charlotte, America. I like to call it Charlotte, America. And that being said, thank you. And that being said, it is definitely time. It's long overdue. You've heard me say election cycle after election cycle, that I'll be here when you're ready. And so I hope you're ready, because we have to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing today? My name is Jerron Gemini Boyd, and I'm running to be your next mayor of Charlotte. And I'm running because it has come and it is time for a change in Charlotte. The same voices that we have been hearing for years have brought us here, which is status quo. It is time for no more status quo. It is time to take our city to the next level. And that level looks like having a mayor that's going to be there to console the community, to console the city. When there is turmoil in the city, I will stand strong in front of our city to console our city. There has been opportunities after opportunities where there should have been leadership in things that have happened. I can speak on a lot of these things because one thing you're going to hear about me, they're going to say, oh, he's formerly incarcerated. He did this, he did this. But I am formerly incarcerated. I spent 20 years in federal prison. I thought about my city the whole 20 years I was in there. From all the things that I took away from my city, I have now poured back into my city. I have put together events greater than anybody that's sitting up here. And that was the greatest feat was we put together Charlotte Day. We hosted 10,000 individuals. We fed 10,000 individuals. We gave away over 10,000 book bags filled with school supplies. And guess what? I can tell you the city of Charlotte did not support us, but we got it done anyway. Because I'm an individual that can get the job done. I'm an individual that's going to stand strong in front of Charlotte. When Charlotte needs someone to console them and hold them and be the leader that they need to be, I will not be sitting up on the 15th floor when you need to come looking for me. I will answer your calls, and most importantly, I will be there for you. My name is Jerron Gemini Boyd from Mayor.
Thank you so much. So next we will move on to some pre-written questions. There are a few of them, and each candidate will have 2 minutes apiece to answer these questions. So many topics, and it was hard to decide where to start, but since we're in the Black Political Caucus, let's start with racial equity. So the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative has raised more than $216 million since it was started. I'd like to know, I guess I'll start with you, Mayor Lyles. What are you most proud of there, and where do you see an opportunity for improvement and growth in the future?
First of all, I'm most proud that we could put together a public-private partnership to raise that money. $250 million is a down payment on what needs to happen in this community. I mentioned the amount allocated to Johnson C. Smith University, but we've also committed monies to reduce the digital divide in this community and to promote individuals who either have a small business or who are working in corporations who want to move up the corporate ladder. And it is so encouraging to see in this community the leadership we have at the top of Black folk who are also reaching down to help others. And that's something we're going to continue to do. Thank you.
All right, short and sweet. All right, next candidate, whoever wants to go next.
There's going to be a lot of questions that are going to be asked about policy, about money, and things of that nature. And one thing that he just said that I like to elaborate on is about the pyramid of power. The pyramid of power is structured like this. And when you start looking at the pyramid of power and the things that comes with it, the resources never make it to the bottom. So it's time to take that pyramid of power and turn it upside down and start allocating the resources from the bottom to the top. Some of these questions, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I can't really answer. But I will tell you this. There are people in office that can support the issues that you don't understand because that's what they get paid for. I am a leader. I know this for a fact. I can lead people. We speak of Johnson C. Smith. I go on Johnson C. Smith all the time. I'm still hearing the students cry about the textbooks, cry about the mold that's in the buildings. So what are we doing about that? We're talking about $80 million was allocated to that institution, but it's really not being reflected upon the students that are there. So it is totally time to take some of these initiatives and make change with it. We can't keep hearing the same old thing, the same old rhetoric, because that's what's going to be told to you all. I can't give you the numbers. I'm not in office yet, but I'm going. So I look to have your support because we have to make change in Charlotte. Charlotte is growing so fast. It is growing progressively. And it's time to make that change under new leadership. And I am the man for the job. I promise you that. And with the right people and the right support, I can get the job done. I won't talk to you about Johnson C. Smith having $80 million and it's not being reflected upon their school. So let's make change and let's do the right thing for our community under new leadership. Thank you.
No. No.
What are the rules? I'm sorry, I have to, we got a parliamentarian in the house?
I'm a parliamentarian.
Okay, well, Mayor Lyles would like to rebuttal what Mr. Gemini just said. Oh, there's no rebuttal, sorry, parliamentarian spoke on it. All right, go ahead, next candidate.
Sorry, I paused because I'm actually kind of interested in the rebuttal.
A little bit, right? Curious.
Is it? Can we hear the rebuttal? Because some of us would like, please.
Do you want to hear? Show us hands. Yes, show the rebuttal. Raise your hand if you
Hold on,
can.
we gotta ask Bobby. Hold on.
Okay,
Hold on, we gotta ask Bobby.
We're just trying to maximize time.
Sure. All right, the question on the floor, Mr. Draper, is whether Mayor Lyles can rebuttal what Mr. Gemini just said. No, I guess final answer, no.
Remember, I'm objective, so I'm not taking a side, and you all
I'm objective too.
Yeah, you all should know my position as it relates to violence. I think you're already familiar with that, so I don't have to clarify that. I just wanted him to have an opportunity so that it was clarified. So I'll go ahead and continue if that's the decision of the BPC. Okay, all right. So as it relates to the racial equity initiative, as someone who is myself, the epitome of intersectionality, black, Haitian, and Cherokee, that's a very interesting dynamic coming up, especially with there being this kind of diasporan war that is going on. And with my family also being about 90% military, we're well-traveled, and in those travels, you know, the relationships are built. Some of them are friendships, some of them are romantic. And so I've got Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and Italians and Germans who have been married into my family. So when you come to my family reunion, it looks very different, very, very different. You hear different languages. I speak Spanish. Some of y'all don't know that. Some of you know that when you've heard me all of a sudden start talking Spanish while we're out and about. I'm supposed to have French. My dad would roll over in his grave right now if he realized that I was not doing well in French, but I am teaching my son. And the point that I'm making here is that the racial equity initiative is not sufficient. It is a great launch pad, if you will, but it is not sufficient in the sense that we need to make sure that it is representative of course, the entirety of our diversity here. And that's why you heard me refer to it as Charlotte America, because that's exactly what it is. The diversity is immense. okay? And so we need translators. We need individuals, like some of you know that I've taught English as a second language for immigrants. And I've worked with immigrants moving here and moving not only with it from state to state, but directly from other countries here as well. And of course, you know that my program is agriculture. And in that regard, international business was part of my master's program, and I've had to work with so many different nationalities internationally. So the point I'm making is that it is a great launch pad, but it is not enough. And we need individuals in place that can actually orchestrate that.
All right, last but not least.
Brendan McGinnis, Mayor Candidate. I didn't get to mention it in my intro, but it's a good point. I have the utmost respect for what the mayor's done over the last 8 years and for the city council members that have worked for her over that period of time. But this is about not the past election, it's about the past, it's about the future and a vision moving forward. But that respect, I think, is reflected in the fact that many of the initiatives that have shown success by the mayor and the city council, I'm actually looking to incorporate it into my plan and looking to expand. The MREI is one of those. Things I'm going to look to do is, again, supporting small businesses, offering grants and low interest loans to opportunity corridors, creating jobs and stabilizing communities, and reducing desperation-driven crimes like theft. Affordable housing, increasing funding for housing initiatives to address poverty-driven crime, and stable housing reduces homelessness related crimes, and education access, work with companies like Charlotte Works and UNC Charlotte to provide training for that. So again, this is one of those programs I would look to expand that. It's done a lot of good work, and that's what I want to do is take what's working, throw out the bad, introduce some innovative policies to help us move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. We'll move on to affordable housing, a hot topic in the city of Charlotte. We know there's not enough of it, that's obvious, but what are some of the biggest barriers to affordable housing in the city, and how can we align policies like the UDO to support the needs of affordable housing? Whoever would like to start first.
We've been talking about affordable housing for 20 years. We started the Charlotte Housing Trust. It's produced 11,000 houses. It's taken 20 years to do that. We don't have enough houses. That's the point. We got to utilize things like a housing trust fund, expanding that, the Joyful Charlotte Housing Fund. We also need to look at new ways and new innovative ways to bring housing. Things like 3D printing. That does fall within the Dillon's rule in terms of being acceptable for the city of Charlotte. We got to look at community land trusts. We have one already a program in the West End right now. Put up 3 houses, we can expand those things. We can look at tax incremental funding for areas that need to be developed as a way. We've utilized that down in Valentine. We use that in the South End. We can also look at micro housing. What that'll do is we have one in South End, Lower South End right now as well. We need to bring more housing. There is a 36,000 housing deficit. Over 50% of Charlotte is a cost burden with housing, which means they spend 30% or more of their income on housing. We need to have new housing. 36,000, my plan, www.mcginnisformayor.com.org. I have a plan for 25,900 houses over the next 10 years. Now, I couldn't work those numbers to get that 36,000, but I'm trying as much as I can. We need to introduce innovative solutions. Going back to the 3D printing, you know they can make houses for $20,000 to $30,000 in 24 hours with 3D printing. Why aren't we exploring that? And you put that on a community land trust where they don't have to pay for the property, and those properties can get more wealth. Why are we looking at those things to lower the housing costs instead of the same old, same old? Thank you.
Next candidate?
Go ahead.
Not all at once.
Sorry about that. I'll take the lead on this as your new leader. But I will say this right here. We've been talking about housing for long, forever. When the word affordable is spoken, who are we talking about? That is the question. Who are we making affordable houses for? Do you see in your community affordable housing? Do you see when you're riding up the street at these new skyscraper townhomes and apartment buildings? Do you see affordable written on there? Nowhere, because I'm in the community every day and I'm witnessing people not being able to afford where they live at. They can't afford to get to their jobs and things of that nature. Affordable housing has been a crisis in this city for the last, like this gentleman just said, for the last 20 years. And we still haven't accomplished that. We haven't accomplished that because we still have the same leadership talking about it and not doing anything about it. It is time for us to make sure that we implement the people who really need affordable housing. We have to have them at the table, we have to hear their conversations, and we have to know what's ailing them to being able to be supported with affordable housing. But we can't keep allowing these builders and these contractors to come into our city, build all these houses and apartments and things like that, and exclude the people who live here. Because one thing we do know, land goes out like this, but when there's no more left, everything has to go up. And that's what we are witnessing. And as it is going up, the people are still sleeping on the streets, sleeping in our bus terminals, begging for money on the corners, while our city leadership continues to say, oh, we got affordable housing, we're doing this with affordable housing. No, we are not. And therefore, that's why it's time for a change in this city. Put people in office that are going to implement these changes and do the right thing for our city. And not just talk about it, but let's be about it.
Thank you. Next candidate. Go ahead.
When I first ran for office, my platform was to make Charlotte a great place to live, work, and play. We've done a great job on the Work and Play side, but we've got work to do with the living. You should note that the Housing Trust Fund was increased from $50 million to $100 million. And we've put together a plan to increase affordable housing in this city. Is that enough money? No. Is that going to solve the problem? No. But we're going to make progress. We also need to improve the wages of our residents. That will also help to solve the problem. We need to look at restrictions on developing, restrictions on building. But we note that the city only has the power granted to it by the legislature. We're under Dillon rule. We have to take that into consideration. Affordable housing will be my #1 issue to concentrate on in the next 2 years. I promise you that.
Next candidate.
I defer to Mayor Vilaus to answer first because I knew the answer would be as such. So, affordable housing is not a function of land trust. It cannot be resolved by land trust at all. This is a landlord-favored state. And so when we're talking about legislation and we're talking about affordable housing, just like what Jim and I alluded to, the biggest issue that we have here is that, again, it is a landlord-favored state. And until we address that aspect, we will not ever resolve affordable housing. It will be just like the hamster wheel. And he can't do it, or she can't do it in 2 years. The notion is absurd. It has to change through our legislature. And right now we're dealing with, and some of you are not aware of this, and there's some very scary things that are going on. As a new lawyer, pursuing my license to practice law in California first, not here first, because that's where I attended, I have been I've been litigating rather, and I guess it's legislating in one regard, because I've been influencing the legislation as it relates to the Chapter 42, which is tenant and landlord laws. And right now, the Republicans, the divisive Republicans, because they're not all Republicans are divisive, some are on the right side of justice, but the greater majority of them, led by Phil Berger and Howard Penny, they are ratifying laws right now to make even swifter action that befits landlords over the tenant. They're not taking into account the unfit premises. They are not they are not complying with mutuality of obligations. They are not complying. They're finding every loophole possible to quickly, swiftly evict. And I sit in courtrooms all the time. I am, myself and John C. Barnett, we very often are on court patrol with tenants. TheCTigressRun.com.
All right. So, next, let's talk about public safety. So the last CMPD crime analysis found that crime had decreased, at least a little bit. That's something to celebrate, but when it comes to teen crime, it's skyrocketing. So, if elected, what is your plan to address the youth crime problem? And what specific policies will you support to do that?
One of the things that I would truly like to implement is that we can't continue to look at our youth as they're standing on the corners in front of all these stores and things like that. When I was growing up, you could go to the youth and you could tell them about, well, you don't need to be doing this, you don't need to be doing that. Nowadays, there have to be incentives. So we have to create incentivized programs that work. And we have to put people in position that understand the community in order to lure these individuals from these situations. So creating incentivized programs is key. Because if we create incentivized programs and pay these youth to be able to go out and get trades and things of that nature, because there is over 8,000 jobs right now where it consists of vocational training in some aspect. And the elders who are in those positions are dying off and getting older, so that businesses are having to be sold to these big contractors and these big builders, and we're losing out on opportunities to be able to work with our kids. And also, we have to make sure that the dollars are going to individuals in the community that are doing the work. We're not going to just be doing cute things in order to make it seem like that we are, as leaders, putting in the work. We have to find the partners that are in the community that are engaging with these youth every day. And I mean every day. We have to create avenues for individuals like we are on Charlotte who are constantly in the neighborhoods doing things. So for me, creating incentivized programs is key, because I was once one of those kids out on the corner. I was once one of those individuals that were doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. But it took myself and others around me to help me grow from that situation. So creating these different programs and these different platforms, and let the youth tell us what they need. We have to stop telling kids what they need. Allow them to tell us, because one thing that's always being said is that our children are our future. I believe our children are right now, and so lead us to the future.
Thank you. Next candidate?
Can you repeat the question real quick?
Crime across the city of Charlotte is decreasing. That's something to celebrate. But when it comes to youth crime, that is increasing. What does the city need to prioritize to fix that problem?
Brendan McGinnis, candidate for mayor. The crime report is decreasing 3%. So let's not get jumped for joy about how big that increase is. And that's based off of a 2003 to 2004 jump of 24% in homicides. So you're talking about a 3% decrease from a high. Again, it's not jump to the. All these are, with my role as a financial advisor and my keen insights on economics, I'm able to see all these problems that Charlotte has, whether it's transit, affordable housing, job creation, child care. All these are interconnected through economics. So one of the things we do is, going back to the job creation that Mayor Lyles has done, is we actually need to have some job creation, but not just for those with college degrees. We need to make sure we get money into the neighborhoods for non-degree holders, but specifically going to actionable items for children and reducing the violence. One of the programs I've got is called the Alternatives to Violence Integration. It's subsidized after school and summer care in underserved areas like Greer Heights. It'll give helps low income risk areas, again, getting those children off the street, giving them something to do, having some aftercare, and at the same time too, it's being able to allow their parents to go back to work at the same time too, putting money in their pocket. Brenda McGinnis. You can find all these things today on www.mcginnisformayor.org.
All right, next candidate.
The most important thing that the mayor and this next council has to do is to select a new superintendent of police. That's going to be a very important search. The search, I believe, has already started. An executive search firm has been recruited. And we need to make sure that we bring in the right person for that job. Someone who has experience in big cities. Someone who is community-based, who supports community policing. Someone who can relate to our youth. Yes, there will be programs instituted by the new police chief. There will be ideas among our, I'm getting ready for a medical procedure on Monday and had to take some medicine. But there will be opportunities for the mayor to collaborate with council. Keep in mind, the mayor does not have a vote except in the instance of a tie. Okay? The mayor works with moral persuasion by working with colleagues to implement the ideas that will best impact this community. And there are a number of different ideas relative to youth crime. I love the passion presented by my fellow competitor. I love that, and he's got some good ideas. But ultimately, we want to make sure that we have a police department that can relate to all of our community, that's comfortable, that's visible, because it's not to react, it's to plan ahead and to prevent. Thank you.
All right, so we are not going to place all the onus on a new superintendent. That is not viable. And more aptly or more truthfully, we're dealing with immoral persuasion. And we've already got the issues, the same with our superintendent for education, superintendent, all of our high-level officials just keep leaving because there's always this conflict, and we know about the recent conflict. We know about the conflict in past years, and they get a quick $300,000 and then out the door, and we don't really get all the details of what's going on. At the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that we need a cultural shift, period. You don't solve crime by more policing. You don't. Because you don't know what issues are plaguing the different communities. And as a former federal ranger, we couldn't solve immigration issues with more policing. And as someone who actually, well, I'll say it this way, as the troopers and the rangers, we're very intimidating. When we're in uniform, we all normally have a tall stature, and so we could not actually use that to influence. We had to use culture instead. We had to become friends of the community. We had to get involved. We had to know, why do you keep crossing the border? Why is this happening every other day? Why are we having more drug problems? Why are we having more murders? Why are we having more crime? Because oftentimes we know that crime is out of necessity. And at the end of the day, we can't allow immoral persuasion to choose how we lead our attacks against crime. We have to do that culturally. We have to decide together. And our youth, quite frankly, just need more to do, and they need to know through our example that we value them and we're going to do it together.
Thank you. So, thank you, Mayor Lyles, for bringing up the mayor's power. No, the mayor does not have voting power except in the case of a tie. One of the most recent ties that Mayor Lyles broke was whether there should be a discussion about contracting with companies that pay affordable wages for airport workers. Airport workers, there are some of them that are living in storage units. These are people that clean the planes, the bathrooms, push the wheelchairs. They're begging for $15, $20 an hour. Some of them are paid as low as $9 an hour. And Mayor Biles broke the tie to decide not to speak, not to talk about ways to help them. They're begging for help. So Mayor Biles, please explain why you did that and what should be done to address the problem of these workers who are just begging for higher wages so that they can live in safe housing.
I'm having a little difficulty with the premise of the question. First of all, the mayor cares about all of its citizens and how much they are working. If you look at what we've done for the city of Charlotte workers, you will note that we just substantially increased their wages over and above what other communities are paying for comparable work. The issue here, though, is we were dealing with a private company. And the question is, does the city of Charlotte have the ability to tell a private company what they ought to pay their wages? I believe in most cases we would say no. Now that does not mean that we don't have a concern for those employees. And certainly we're going to reach out to them, and we've made some other suggestions as to how they might go about, through collective bargaining, improve their plight. I support that as mayor. I will work with them, I will talk with them, and I will engage in any strategies that are legal. But we are constrained with what we can do, and I don't know that we want to set a precedent of trying to tell a private business what they pay their workers.
Just a follow-up to that, is there any way that the city can discuss only contracting with people, with private companies that pay their workers affordable wages?
The city can discuss that. If there are 6 council members that want to put that on the agenda, then it can be discussed. It takes 6 votes to add an agenda item.
And just to be clear, that the tie that the mayor broke last time was about that, correct? It was about whether, okay, the city council members are telling me that. Yeah, 2 city council members that voted in favor of talking about it are here. So the city can discuss that, but as of last month, the mayor decided it should not be talked about. Just to be clear, factually. Okay. If any of you have any suggestions about how to advocate for those workers, we'd love to hear it.
So it's not a suggestion. In the last forum, the Delta forum, the fire and ice, I set the record straight. So I have put it out there very clearly, because we're talking about law, okay? So the city attorney evidently has told the city council, and of course none of them are lawyers or attorneys or have a background in law, so you have relied upon your city attorney's information. That information is a cop-out. That is not accurate. Federal preemption definitely exists, and so my Mayor Viles actually admitted to having no knowledge of this, because she said that the state doesn't have the authority, the city doesn't have the authority. That is completely opposite. States can raise a minimum wage without question. Now, of course, that's definitely going to entail city council working with state legislators, and Dr. Adams actually spoke about that. She speaks out about that all the time, warning, and it sounds very interesting because for Dr. Adams to constantly talk about how she wants the city council to work with state legislators, we should know something's kind of off there. We need that influence working together because the state does have sovereignty. That's how the law works.
The under the table deal with Chief Jennings, or just the overall, if you just watch a city council meeting, people consider it to be dysfunctional.
Right.
No, some people do. So what is your plan if you join council to try to keep you and your colleagues on the right track so that you can keep the people over the politics?
This article came out the other day. It was a nice little puff piece stuff in there. And I don't say that in disrespect, it's puff piece. And in there, there's several city council members who complain that when initiatives come to the city council, it's already baked in. But the mayor's already got it, and this is what's gonna happen, and you either get into it or you can't. With you. So it's this, I have a mind plan of 6 initiatives, and the very first one I decided to cover this week was transparency. We have a transparency issue. So it's putting things in place to make sure that the power goes back to the constituents and not to the power brokers. I've talked about an accountability commission, which is basically a community-driven commission that reviews all things like the Jennings settlement, the Bank of America, the upgrades. We've got Charlotte checkbook based upon New York City. It's a real-time accounting of where every single budget dollar is going to. I've got the Charlotte Council Transparency Scorecard, and I think I heard LaWanda Mayfield say that she liked that. That's what you do, is working with Sustain Charlotte to have a scorecard. Are city council members coming to meetings? Are they getting out in the community? What are their votes? So everybody knows, and we don't have to necessarily come to these forums, we can go online and see, hey, what have they been doing? Last is participatory budgeting pilot. $5 million, that's less than 0.06 of the budget. Basically, if this is pioneered or been piloted in Greensboro, it allows the community to come along and give ideas and vote on what the budget is being spent on. So it's about giving power, more transparency to the government, giving more power back to the voters and the citizens, and taking away from the power brokers. We need a change.
Next candidate.
My thing with the word transparency is that everybody that you hear that's running for election is going to tell you that.
Amen.
That's the new word. Transparency, transparency, transparency. But let's not exclude the word accountability.
Yes.
See, I shouldn't have to stand in front of you to tell you that I'm going to be transparent.
Right.
I shouldn't have to stand in front of you and tell you that I'm going to hold myself accountable. Because you're only great as your leader are. So if you have a leader that isn't as great as they need to be, you will start seeing the trickle-down effects of what happened in a situation with the chief of police that we had. Because there should have been no way possible that the word transparency needed to be brought into the room.
Right.
Because community should have known about what was happening before it happened. You should have found out on Channel 9, WBTV, and all the WNC News and all the other things. Community should have been notified about the things that were happening with that situation. That is transparency. Transparency isn't me telling you after the fact. Transparency is me telling you before it happens. Accountability is part of my transparency. And I will hold myself accountable. And I will make sure that the individuals that are working together in city council understands that. Because I will say this over and over again. And that is, status quo brought us to what happened with Chief Jennings. It is time for no more status quo. You need an individual that's going to be firm and strong and understand what's going on, and that's not afraid to hold themselves accountable. Because I'm going to always be transparent. My job for you is to hold accountability, not transparency. Because you're going to hear that from the beginning with me. I'm going to express that. So understanding that your leader needs to be a leader and not someone that's going to hide behind the table or the desk. I am always going to be transparent, but most importantly, I'm going to hold myself and the constituents that I work for accountable for the jobs that they were placed in from the people to do.
Next.
Go ahead. No, you go. No, go ahead, sir.
All right, our time
He's
is
got it.
short, please.
It's really interesting listening to some of these comments. Charlotte is a great city.
One.
We're attracting over 150 people every day who want to come here and experience our way of life. I'm pleased to be a part of that, and I'm pleased to be heading up this city over this period of time. Have we had some hiccups on city council? Absolutely. Have there been some bumps? Have some of us grown into our positions? Yes. But we're working through that. And in fact, we just sent out a memo recommending some changes in council policy, how our meetings will be run. Hopefully that will make a difference. We will be working on individual relationships with council members. Hopefully that will make a difference. It was said, I think, that some issues come before council and they're already baked in. Yes, that's true. If there is a significant issue coming before council, isn't it incumbent upon each council member to do his or her own homework, to do his or her own analysis, to have some conversations with his or her colleagues, and to form an opinion? I would submit to you that most council members don't wait until the issue comes before them at the dais to decide how they're going to vote. There's nothing wrong with that. Every citizen has an opportunity to have input into decisions that come before council members. You know what the agenda is, it's published ahead of time. You have an opportunity to engage in discussion and make a difference in this community. So we're going to continue to work forward. We're going to work on the process. We're going to make it better. We're going to improve it. But we're going to continue to move this city forward. Thank you.
That's new information there. Thank you about the policies. Okay, that's great. Okay.
I equally find the mayor's commentary very interesting. It's indicative of the analogy that there's an inequity phenomenon in nearly every major city of America. And so you start in the areas that are favored, and you see it shining new. And then you drive a block down the street and it's completely dilapidated. That's what Charlotte is. That's what Greensboro is. That's what Raleigh is. That's what Durham is. We have a situation that has plagued America as it relates to classism and inequities. We know that. We can't keep just painting over that with window dressing. And you know that that is just, it's insulting to Charlotteans, everyday Charlotteans. And I've told you that a lot of you think that they're not coming out to vote because they are just disillusioned. No, they're protest voting. They're not voting intentionally because they're sick of this nonsense. They're sick of it, they're over it. They've been done tired, okay? And they're tired of hearing people talk pretty. They're tired of it.
Is that what I'm doing?
You can't keep talk for fix it, is what my people would say. And that pretty much says you just can't keep talking to fix anything. You can't. And that's what keeps happening, all this pretty talk. We need individuals who are actually going to work together. And my strength for Charlotte is conflict resolution. My deans in law school suggested that I go to ADR. They were so, and I really appreciate this. They said they were very impressed by my ability to bring people together. And that's what I want to continue to do. I've had great experience doing that with my family, with the community, and those who I serve at large.
All right, so that is our time, but we want to give each candidate 2 minutes? 1 minute for a closing statement. And if you could, in your closing statement, say a little bit about your vision for the future of Charlotte.
Can you give them the order you want them to speak, please?
Let's start with Mayor Biles.
With your permission, I'm going to switch my persona. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Mike Evans. I've been a resident of Charlotte for about 45 years. And I have known Biles for a lot of years. Imagine my surprise in 2013 when she came into my house, unannounced by the way, and said, I'm going to run for city council. And I said, have you lost your mind? She said, no, I'm going to run. Now, at that time, Vi had already had a very successful career as budget director and as the assistant city manager. But she said, I've got a lot more to give. So I'm going to run for city council, and you're going to be my campaign manager. Okay. So we ran, we won. The next cycle, she was mayor pro tem. The next cycle, she said, I'm going to run for mayor. And again, I said, are you crazy? Why? Spend some time with your family.
Time.
Rule said 2 minutes.
Will we get the same extension of time for the last, like you did with the at-large group?
Unfortunately, that was me who did that, but the leader over here is saying no in the back.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
1 minute, please. When you see that yellow, you know it's 30 seconds. You gotta keep it clear and concise. All right, Mr. McGinnis.
Randy KBS, running to your mayor. Mayor Lyon said, Charlotte's a great city. Well, that's subjective, right? It's up to you to decide if it's a great city or not. Also said something about there's a learning curve, a paraphrase, a learning curve on the job. 8 years in, how long is this learning curve? Okay? I know what you see when you look at me, but I grew up for a couple years. I stayed in East Charlotte, on Bondland Drive, right across from Katie Stick Gateway, Albemarle, W.T. Harris. I had to take 3 exchanges buses to get home from my school in downtown to there. All good in relationships. And at some point in time, those relationships soured. The person didn't appreciate you. And you broke up. And you went and dated somebody else, and 2 things happened. Either they came to appreciate you more, or you moved on past them. I want you to date me. Don't tell my wife I'm married. I'm saying figuratively, I want you to date me. Endorsing her is just going to go that. So either I ask for endorsement, or vote of non-confidence, no endorsement. Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, okay. Well, some of y'all figured out what I'm doing. We're not gonna act like y'all haven't figured out what I'm doing. We're on the same. Golly, come on, people.
Okay.
Is my time running?
Yes.
Why would it be running? No, we need to start that because that's not fair.
3, 2.
All right. I'm going to take this opportunity to answer some of the questions that were posed to the other candidates for the other sections. So we need synergistic governance so that there's a majority and unanimous vote, which does then show that there is more conflict resolution and consensus decisions that are being made. And again, I believe that I can definitely guide that process with my experience and my civility. A protective guide for the bid process to ensure compliance and avoid legal loopholes for those individuals who need that with vocational legal education. I propose a co-mayoral campaign as well, program, and it includes youth. Some of you have seen the youth that have followed me at the campaigns, and they will be the individuals that we will be bringing into the fold directly. The light rail policing of non-paying riders is an inappropriate statement because most of them are indigent riders, and there are broken scanners. In fact, I'm probably the only one who showed up today on a bus. Okay.
First off, it is just time for a change. I don't know how many more times I have to say that. The mayor of Charlotte has brought us to a point to where Charlotte is a very beautiful city. But even Michael Jordan had to retire. So it's just time for a change. It is time for a new leadership. It is time for us to have different agendas on the table that can benefit the entire Charlotte and not just South Charlotte. Because I talk to the people that are on the west side of Charlotte, the north side of Charlotte, and they are yearning for a different leadership. I'm asking the BPC to support me. I'm not your everyday candidate, but I am a leader that can help bring this city together. I am an individual that understands community. I am that person. So please just give me that opportunity to show you who I am, to show you how I can console and bring our city together. I'm Jerron Gemini Board, and I look to be your next mayor of Charlotte. Thank you.
Thank you all to the mayoral candidates. Let's give them a round of applause.
Vote for Dr. Tigress, me, in the primary on September 9th. Remember that if I am not successful in the primary election, I will not be on your November 4th ballot. Go vote!